Hello and welcome to episode 3 of FPL Phonzie with your host Evan Schlag.
And Jason Steenkamp.
So game week 2 is come and gone. In today's episode, we're going to be splitting up into two parts. Part 1 is going to be game week 2 reviews, followed by our transfer plans and strategy for game week 3. And then in part 2, similar to last week's episode, we're going to be going over kind of each team in more deep discussion, kind of open dialogue, anything that kind of comes to mind, we can talk about a little bit more. So without further ado, let's get into the game week 2 reviews.
First game was the game of the week. Spurs went to Chelsea, Battle of the Bridge 2.0, ended up being a 2-2 draw. Basically, Chelsea dominated the first 6 minutes of this game. Reece James was really the orchestrator, was dominating. But this is a different Spurs team. They're a team that can bring off Richarlison, Perisic, Basuma, the likes of those players off the bench. That's how deep they are. And they played better in the last 30 minutes and drew the game 2-2. But the real star of the show was the Tuchel Conte banter and sideshow on the sidelines.
Yeah, that was pretty wild at the end with the handshake, stare down, scrum. So Man United played Brentford, lost 4-0. Honestly, everyone's saying, all the puns are saying, one of the most kind of shocking performances they've had in recent memory. Up until now, next week they play Liverpool, so we'll see what happens. In terms of FPL, I hope you have sold all your Man United assets if you haven't already, as pretty much everyone that you could own has dropped at least 1 point so far. And then on Brentford's side, Tony De Silva and Buemo look like decent options up front. Definitely, you should watch their games a little more detail and see how they're doing.
The highest scoring game of the weekend was Arsenal 4, Leicester 2. Jesus and Martinelli really were the superstars of the Arsenal side. And Saka really was not in that top tier of Arsenal attackers, just something to take note of. And Leicester's defense looks terrible. Probably a fixture to target.
Yeah, City beats Bournemouth 4-0 at home in Haaland's home debut. He doesn't get a goal, picks up an assist on a Gundogan goal. Had a couple tap-ins that Foden could have fed him. He was a little bit selfish on a few plays. Big takeaways is, again, De Bruyne looks awesome. The rotation has started with the wingers and Foden, Grealish, and Mahrez. So be on the lookout for who's playing week to week, and once more fixtures, Champions League, FA Cup starts.
The other big team, Liverpool, played at home and started Nat Phillips at center back beside Virgil van Dijk. They played Palace and drew 1-1. The big story was Darwin got the red card for a headbutt, so he's going to be out for the next 3 games. Diaz scored a great goal. He's probably back in people's thoughts. And Salah went blank. But Palace is not a fixture target at all.
All right, another game was Brighton and Newcastle drew 0-0. Another clean sheet for Newcastle. Then a hot start for them. Guys like Trippier and Scar and Botman. In terms of Brighton, Mopé looks like he's on his way out. For me, that signals potential Denis Undav transfer in. He's at 5.4. He fell. Someone to keep an eye out if he gets more regular substitutions for Welbeck.
Villa beat Everton 2-1. This Villa team's very odd. People are very low on them, but they did get the win. Ings looked good. Watkins looked good. Buendia looked good. But the Coutinho and Bailey common FPL picks have been terrible. And Everton just is not a good team. It's as simple as that.
Leeds and Southampton drew 2-2. Big highlights from this game: Rodrigo scoring 2 goals, and Aribo on Southampton might provide another option if you're looking for a Southampton player that's not Ward-Prowse.
Forest beat West Ham in their first game at home in the Premier League in a long time. It seems like a surprising result, but watching the game, getting a feel for the atmosphere, it didn't seem surprising if you were in the building. Nico Williams looks really good. West Ham don't look like they can score, and the Awemeni striker for Forest might become an option soon.
And the last game of the week is Fulham and Wolves drew 0-0. A couple clean sheets for both teams. And the big takeaway is Mitrovic. He's on pens. He missed it, but kind of that thing that you wanted to see if you're a Fulham fan. All right, so those are our game reviews for week 2. Jason, what is your transfer period for this week looking like in your game week 3 strategy?
Well, I think we got to do how my team did last week first, right?
Right. We'll get to that. Let's
Okay.
start off with how was your week 2?
My week 2 was pretty good. I had 67 points. I did take a hit, so I ended up with 63. But I had Jesus, I had Martinelli, I had Cancelo. Those guys did well for me. Walker's just ticking, getting those clean sheets every week. I did have De Silva on the bench, wasn't great, but that's okay. It was enough to beat the average. It was enough to raise 700K. It was enough to win my head-to-head matchup and go top of the league by myself with 6 points. Yeah, overall, solid week. Still liking my team. Yeah, how was your week?
My week was very, very bad. I'm trying to think back to last season, and it might have been my worst week ever. At least just how I felt watching all the games. Cancelo got me 11 points. Robert Sanchez got me 6. Holland got me an assist, and I captained him, so he ended up with 10. But no one else did anything. No clean sheets. Couple yellow cards. It was a really tough week. I ended up with 42 points against the 57-point average. So it sunk me 2 million positions. I hate to say that, but I got to be honest with you guys. And my big takeaways were does Arsenal, Martinelli, and Jesus really sunk me. We were talking about it before. The Jesus points alone dropped me 1.7 million positions, which is just outrageous. How one guy can destroy my game week essentially. So yeah, but with that being said, having one bad week, I'm hopeful for the next few weeks. I got a lot of green fixtures, especially for my defenders. So if that Liverpool clean sheets can come in clutch.
Those have been killing. You and I have both had Trent Robbo, and it is crazy that they haven't got a clean in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and yeah, really that Robertson differential pick, he's around, I think, 11-12% owned. Not paying off right now, but there's no plans to move him out. So just kind of, status quo for now in terms of how I'm feeling about my team. So we discussed quickly before we got on the pod about your transfers for the week. Please enlighten me, and what did you actually do?
So I've already made my transfers already, and I hear you. I completely understand why you have no reason to get rid of Robbo, but I already have. It's nothing to do with Robbo. It really isn't. I actually like him a lot. I believe in the pick. It's just he's a lot of money.
Yep.
And he has a mil more than Reece James. And I think Reece James is just as good a pick, maybe better. But the real reason I did that was because I didn't make a move on Tony on Sunday. And I had 2.5 in the bank, and I had Archer sitting on my third bench spot, and I wanted to move Archer to Tony. And I would have just done it for free on Sunday, but I was 0.1 short, and I still really liked the move. So I moved Robbo to Reese and Archer to Tony to take my second hit of the season. Yeah, both of those guys were on my watch list last week. So I don't think it was super impulsive. I think I watched both of their games. I think Tony looked great. I think Reese looked great. Robbo, I think the extra center back injury is making me a little unsure. Like Nat Phillips was Phillips? He was Phillips, the reason for that goal against Liverpool. And until you get Konate or Matip back, and then Archer is just not going to play. And now I have a very clear starting 11, very clear 3 bench. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like my team. So how my team's going to line up now is I've got the 5 at the back still of Trent, Reese, Perisic, Cancelo, Walker. All pretty much starts every week. I'm really liking Perisic moving forward.
Okay.
Melier I think he's playing very, very well. It's just they don't have very good center backs. They have these 2 great CDMs, and I think they're doing well. But I still weirdly believe in the Melier pick. So I'm going to be playing a 5-2-3. Salah and Martinelli is my only 2 mids.
Okay.
And then I have Jesus, Holland, and Tony up front. So hopefully I'll just be getting a goal or 2 or 3 every week from those 3. And then my bench is Klaassen, the Leeds backup, Andreas Pereira, De Silva, and Bailey on my bench.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. I don't know how many times I've seen 5-2-3
Yeah, it's crazy.
formation. That's a wild one.
And what I'll be looking at captaincy options is between Salah, Jesus, and Haaland. I think Jesus is in that conversation now.
Okay.
He plays away to Bournemouth this week, so honestly, if possible, Salah is away to United and Haaland's away to Newcastle. So honestly, all three have a rationale behind them right now.
Okay. No decision made yet, though.
Currently, it's on Salah. Vice is on Haaland, but any of them could go anyway.
Okay. So like Jason, I already made my transfers for week
Ooh.
3. I moved out Sancho and moved in Gundogan.
Mm.
This was a decision I had to make on it was on Saturday, I believe, because Sancho dropped that night and I knew he was going to drop, so I knew I had to move him out in some way. And didn't feel great about moving down a lot to like Martinelli, let's say. And I've been watching both the City games and I see that Gundogan, though he didn't get any assists or goals in the first game, he had the pass that led to the Haaland penalty shot. So if
Yeah.
there's a
Haaland gets
world
the assist. Yeah, yeah.
there's a world where Haaland doesn't get tripped and he just scores and Gundogan gets an
Mhm.
assist and then
Yep.
he ends up, what does he get? Maybe gets another bonus point or two and has 18 points now instead of 14 or 13 that he has. Um, and my another thought is that if Haaland doesn't score, I'm just hoping that Gundogan is involved in a goal in some other fashion. So I'm kind of covered. I feel like I'm decently covered with my City attacking options. And then with Bernardo Silva out, I see him starting, most games. So it's a short term move. I don't think in 10 weeks I'm going to have him, but I knew he's not going to drop. So I just kind of made a safe pick right now.
I like that move. I think he might end up being the best non-De Bruyne midfielder at City. He got announced as captain this year.
Yeah.
Bernardo might be moving. He might just be in every single game. And at 7.5, I think apparently 2 years ago he was in every team.
Okay.
There was a chunk of time. So he's the type of guy, if he's nailed and being a captain with Bills leaving, that looks good.
Yeah, and you mentioned that in last week's episode, so that kind of stuck with me, and it was like a simple move to make, and he's differential for sure. So I'm helpful for that. And then so that was my only transfer move. I didn't want to take any hits. Don't have anything in the bank, um, which is fine. And then this week I'm going to be lining up 5-3-2. So in net, as always, I'm going to have Sanchez, and then my back five is the same as I've had it before: Trent, Robertson, Cancelo, Eric Dyer, and Ben White. In the mid, I'm going to be having Salah, Gundogan, and Kulishevsky. And then up front, I'm going to have Holland and Buomo. This means that Aronson is going to be in my bench this week, unlike the first 2 weeks. So he's going to be in my first bench spot. Andreas is going to be in my second one because right now it says he has a knock, a 75% chance of playing. So a little more. I'll see how it goes. If that flag goes away, I'll probably move him into the first spot, and then Archer's in my third bench spot with Steele, Sanchez's backup as my backup goalkeeper. So that was my strategy for game week 3. Jason, who's on your watch list going into this week?
Yeah, so I try to be very concise with my watch list this year. I like where it's at so far. Of my watch list from last week, I brought two of those players in. So Reese and Tony are in. I've taken Darwin off. Obviously, he's suspended until September. No reason to keep him there. Kukureya and Kulusevski have stayed on. It'll be kind of hard to get to Kulusevski right now, but Kukureya, I liked what I saw last week. So he's staying in. And then I've got two players I'm adding in. So just in the structure of my team, guys I'm need to focus on right now are like cheaper mids, just because I've got three on my bench that are all 9 or under. So one of the guys that I'm adding in is Pascal Gross from Brighton.
Okay.
I'm not in love with him. I would want to keep watching him. He's got a lot of, he seems to be more attacking. There's a lot of love for him. on Twitter, but I'm just like nervous to bring in a Brighton attacker. He's
Yeah.
not even the main attacker. I feel like it's a little. I could just look back on this very quickly and be like, that was a terrible pick. He's just on my watch list, and I'll just like the other guy. So I just am limited in my team structure and prices. So the guy I've added in is Harvey Elliott.
Okay.
So he's 5.0.
Yeah.
He might be a very cheap way into Liverpool. But if they stay very injured, potentially if he gets that right wing spot, if like Firmino's not super healthy, he also got 2 bonus points. Like he was very
Okay.
active in their last
Yeah,
game.
he was.
He was all over the place. So he didn't get a goal, he didn't get an assist, and he got the second most bonus point system points. So he's a player I think might just be like a sneaky differential, might get a few sneaky goals while Darwin's out, while like Firmino's not around,
Sure.
like Jota's still out. There's spots in midfield. Like I think he's going to play a lot. Yeah, so he's weirdly on my watch list, and I weirdly have that third Liverpool spot available now with Robbo out. So yeah, he's my very fun player to add to my watch list.
Okay. My list is pretty short as well. In defense carries over from last week. I have Saliba and Sessegnon. Going to be watching both their games. My move is going to be Ben White is going to be going out for someone, whether that's another 4.5 or once if I'm looking at one of those 5 mils, maybe somebody like Coquerel will be on my radar. But those two right now, just a lateral swap. And then in the midfield, I'm looking at Madison and Dewsbury Hall from Leicester. I thought that they've looked really attacking and exciting from a offensive standpoint. So I'm watching them, and then I got Anthony Gordon. I know Everton's not a very good team, but he's by far their best player. So he's going to be playing every game at 5.5. I could move that Aronson to him, um, just a lateral move again, and then looking at Jesse Lingard and see how Fulham does. I know I already have Pereira in the mid.
He's on
Oh,
Forest.
he's on Forest. He's not. Well,
Yeah.
then even better. I don't need to worry about doubling up on Fulham then. But yeah, Forest looked decent at home. If he can solidify himself, 6 mil, kind of a cheaper option. So those 6 guys are in my watch list. Not really looking at too many forwards right now. Bomo looks. I'm happy with him. I mean, he scored against United. It seems like he's going to be starting most of the time on a right wing. So I'm happy with that. And then maybe Archer moving out, but then I'd rather play around with my funds. And I don't know if I necessarily want to do that right now. So forwards kind of locked up right now. All right. That concludes part 1 of this episode. We'll be right back.